In this video I'm going to show you something similar to the other one. I'm going to show you some if-else statements where we use true and false from our objects and arrays here. So it's similar to the other one that we just created, but I just have here a h4 says what have I read and not read. So this is for the last assignment you also did. I just created two paragraphs, books and books not read. So I have two different IDs, and I shouldn't actually have this. It makes no sense then. So books I have read and books I still need to read. This is what I wanted to print out in two different blocks. I still have my button here, so let's click save and refresh, and nothing happens if I click it, of course, because there's nothing attached to them. What I wanted to do is I want to print out in the first line up here which books I have read, and down here which books I haven't read. So it's going to divide it for me. In my JavaScript here, I am going to create a function as before. Function books read, and just as before, I'm going to create my for loop. So I equals 0. It has to be smaller than books length, like so, and I plus plus. And then we need to open our for loop. So now we're ready to start the iteration and tell the system what it needs to do. Now I just deleted a ton of code and I have to write everything from scratch again, which wasn't optimal. But I'm creating a variable again, just like before, where we do books, because I wanted to go through each of our objects up in the books title. And I wanted to, just as before, have by and then plus books, the I again, and author. We're going to skip images in this one because I'm lazy, but it would be the same principle. So now we have our information here. That's our for loop that's being started. I'm going to now create a if statement. So if, I'm doing this, if books, in this first case would be iteration 0, and then we check our already read if it's false or true. Already read, like so. This is also exactly the same from the last assignment. So if books, the first one would be 0, is true, no, that's false. And if it's true, then do something else. If this is already read, true or false, we do something, and that something is we write something to the document. So we get element by ID again, and I think it was called books, but let's make sure. Books, yes, and the other is books underscore not. So inner HTML, so we're printing it out, and then we're typing out book info. So that's the first one. Now we also have to create our else statement. So if it's not true, then we do something else. So document dot get element by ID, and the other one was books not. I am really good with words today. And then I also print out book info, because it's going to print out the correct one depending on where we are at in the loop. So don't worry about that. So let's test this and see what happens. And nothing happens. Probably because I made an error in my code and this doesn't look right. There we go. We can see I actually opened my ifs here and I ended it here, so that means my else is actually inside, which won't work. So I'm just deleting one of these, and like so. So now I can see my if statement starts here, ends here, my else starts here, ends here. And this is part of my for loop, and this is my function. So let's click save, refresh, and click show me the books. And now we can see I printed out the books according to if I have read them or not read them. So this is based on either true or false. Martian, yes. Theory of everything, no. So you can see theory of everything, oops, sorry, up there, true, that is part of the false. So that's been printed down here. Books I still need to read, and books I have read, Martian, is part of this. So we're just doing an iteration similar to the other one, but now I'm printing out the information differently in different areas of the page, like so we can actually see or divide the data up a little bit. This is very useful for when going forward and doing programming that's a little bit more advanced. I'll show you more in class and also tell you about your assignment there.